Hello, welcome back to another episode of This Is Now. One of the big difference between when many of us, by us I mean people in their 40s or older, a big difference with many of us back then is that what make up the hobby, what constitute the hobby was a lot more younger people. Okay, I don't have any statistic to give you. Okay, there's no way for me to dig up the data to say that the average age of a comic book collector in 1980 was 22. There's no way to tell. Okay, I can only surmise, big word, estimate, guess, conclude based on what I know and saw and experienced in my early days of collecting. When I used to go to the LCS in 1981 through 1984, 85 until high school graduation, the majority of the people I saw in there was people my age or younger. Sure, did I see older people? Absolutely. But did I see old men, people in their 50s? No. I don't recall seeing any old men. I believe the oldest people was the 20s, late 20s, early 30s something that owned the store that worked behind the counter. Yeah, at least from my memory, I don't recall seeing any gray hair people walking in there and buying things. I remember seeing older people, by older I mean, maybe in their 20s, buying things and talking to the cash register as they're checking out that, these books is going to be for investment. It's going to go right into bags and board and be protected and be going to be a good investment for many years to come. I did hear some of those kind of conversations back in the early 80s, yes. But what constituted the hobby was younger people. And same thing with conventions. I went to my first convention in 1984. Okay, I told this story many times. That's where I got John Byrne to sign. And at that convention, it was dead. And once again, I remember the majority of the people that was walking around was younger people. They were older than me. I was 17 years old, but I'm guessing maybe a few 20 something, a few 30 somethings, but definitely not a whole lot of gray hair that I can remember. And that also the same in the 90s. Okay, when I was after college, after moving to Boston and attended a ton of conventions in Boston, sure, by that point I saw a lot of 20 something, a lot of 30 something, but I pretty sure it was not a lot of 40 or 50 or 60 something. Okay, there are some gray hair, but overall, the oldest people in the room tend to be the dealers. But this is now, okay, the demographic of the community now is much, much older than it has ever been. Okay, you definitely don't have that many 8-year old, 9 years old, 10. Sure, they might go to the store with their dads that is in the 40s or late 30s, but that's not the bulk or even a minor part of this collecting community anymore. Okay, younger kids these days, teenagers are really not, for the most part, buyers of these books. Okay, not when they're $4 a pop. Not like me when I used to be able to buy a comic book the same price as a candy bar. Not anymore. Back then, because of the way the community made up was, $1,000 is a lot of money. A lot of teenagers didn't have $1,000 to spend. So the very few people that had $1,000 to spend are willing to pay up for an Action One for $1,000, right? So how things change over the past 40 years has a lot to do with how the average age and the average income of the community is going up, right? Because of the demographic of the collecting community now. That play a big part in how the market has grown in value, because with older people, older collector, you also have income, some with a lot of income, a lot of saving, a lot of investment return. And because of that, a lot more money are put in to this hobby that drove up the price even more than many of us can imagine. This is now, okay? This is what make up the hobby now. A whole lot of middle-aged people with a lot of money. Yeah. It's hard for many people to grasp, like, oh my God, how can these books go up 20, 30, 40, 50 times? At the end of the day, it's about disposable income. I'm not saying that everybody in this hobby have a ton of disposable income. I know plenty and see plenty and heard plenty of younger people that have a hard time trying to squeeze a few bucks here and there to buy books, but they're not the one bidding up four figures, five figures books, okay? They're not. The people that bidding up four, five figures books, some could be young people that got rich with bitcoins or cryptos or whatever, or they work in the Silicon Valley and get tons of stock options from their company, Google, Facebook, Apple, who knows. But there's a lot of people with money. At the end of the day, it's about a lot of people in this community now have a lot of money, much more than what the community was made of in the 80s or even the 90s. Okay? I think a lot of things has changed in the last 20 years in the hobby as a demographic increase. You have more older people with disposable income, and with the world changing in the past 10 years, a lot of younger people are making a lot of money, more than a lot of older people are making. Yeah, this is now. Okay, so it's all part of the mania, the bubble, as some people want to call it. So I don't see anything that's going to change that. Okay, it's not a bad thing for those that like to profit off the hobby. But that's it. This is now. Okay, it is what it is. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.